Once upon a time, in a small mountain village between hills and forests, there lived an old gardener named Kenji. For 40 years, he had taken care of the same piece of land behind his simple wooden home. His garden was famous throughout the valley, not because it was big, but because of the peace that came from every stone and flower he had planted. Kenji was known for something special. While other gardeners in the village would walk around worried during dry times, get angry at cold weather, and lose sleep over bugs eating their plants, Kenji stayed very calm. People often wondered how he stayed so peaceful when nature could be so hard to predict. The secret, Kenji would tell anyone who asked, was simple. I take care of what I can take care of, and I let everything else be. Every morning before the sun came up, Kenji would get up and walk through his garden with a small water can and an old wooden tool. He would water his plants, pull out weeds that had grown overnight, and gently help growing vines climb up their supports. His movements were slow and peaceful, like a prayer in action. But what made Kenji different from other gardeners was not what he did, it was what he didn't do. He never got angry at storm clouds. He never cursed the wind that sometime bent his flowers. He never stayed awake worrying about tomorrow's weather. Instead, he focused only on the small area of earth he could take care of, knowing that everything beyond that area was beyond his control. A gardener's job, he would say, is not to control the rain or tell the sun what to do. A gardener's job is to make the soil good, plant the seeds, and trust that nature will do the rest. One summer, the worst dry season in 50 years hit the valley. Week after week passed without any rain. The river that gave water to the village wells began to run low. Gardens throughout the valley dried up and died. Crops failed. The other gardeners became desperate, some even giving up on their gardens completely. Young Hana, a new gardener who had recently moved to the village, came to visit Kenji. She was very upset. "Master Kenji," she said, her voice shaking, "how can you be so calm? Don't you see what's happening? The dry weather is destroying everything we've worked for. My vegetables are dying, my flowers are drying up, and there's nothing I can do to stop it." Kenji looked at her with kind eyes and asked her to sit beside him on a simple wooden bench that looked out over his garden. Even though his plants were hurt by the dry weather, they looked healthier than most others in the village. "Tell me, Hana," he said gently, "can you make the rain fall?" "No," she replied, frustrated. "Of course I can't." "Can you turn back time and change the weather that led to this dry season?" "No." "Can you control how hot the sun is or which way the wind blows?" "No, but..." "Then why," Kenji asked with endless patience, "are you spending your precious energy fighting battles you cannot win?" Kenji stood up and walked to his garden, asking Hana to follow. "Let me show you something," he said. He knelt down beside his tomato plants and gently lifted the mulch around their base. Underneath, the soil was still wet. While others spent their time worrying about what they couldn't control, I focused on what I could. I put mulch around my plants to keep water in the soil. I watered deeply, but not too often, to help roots grow strong. I chose plants that could handle dry weather and put them in shady spots. He moved to another part of his garden, where his vegetables grew in raised beds. I built these beds years ago, not knowing when I might need them, but understanding that hard times would come. I cannot control the dry weather, but I can control how I get ready for it. Hana watched as Kenji continued his daily work, the same gentle watering, the same careful weed pulling, the same peaceful attention to his plants. Even in the harsh conditions, he worked with the same steady rhythm he had kept for decades. "But what if your plants die anyway?" Hana asked. Kenji smiled. "Then I will learn from what happened, get ready differently for next time, and plant again." The garden teaches us that endings are also beginnings. What I cannot control is whether every plant will live. What I can control is how I care for them while they're here. Over the following weeks, Hana began to understand. She stopped checking the weather forecast all the time. She stopped lying awake worrying about things she couldn't change. Instead, she focused on what she could do, making her soil better, watering wisely, and taking care of her plants with the same gentle attention she had learned from Kenji. When the dry season finally ended and the first rains came, both gardens grew beautifully. But more importantly, both gardeners had learned something that would help them far beyond their gardens. You see, in life, Kenji's wisdom was not just about gardening, it was about life itself. In a world full of situations we cannot control, we find peace not by fighting the unchangeable, but by putting our energy into what we can change. Like the gardener, who cannot control the weather, but can control how he gets ready for it, we cannot control every outcome in our lives, but we can control our responses, our preparation, and our daily choices. The garden teaches us that there is great power in accepting what we cannot change, while fully embracing what we can. When we stop wasting energy on battles we cannot win, we discover we have much more strength for the work that actually matters. In the end, letting go of what we cannot control is not about giving up. It's about focusing our precious energy where it can actually make a difference. Like the gardener, who cannot control the weather but can control how he gets ready for it, we find that peace comes not from controlling everything around us, but from taking good care of our own small area of influence and trusting in the wisdom of the process.